Now, Adam was playing this game called sin and go hide. Not hide and go seek, but sin and go hide. Because sin produces three things. Sin produces guilt, fear, and hiding. Sin. It produces guilt, fear, and hiding. He was guilty, and the guilt made him afraid. And because he was afraid, it sent him into hiding. Because sin produces guilt, fear, and hiding. And so here he goes. He sins, and now he goes into hiding because he said, I hid myself because I was afraid. And he was afraid because he had sinned. Because sin produces guilt, fear, and hiding. And so now he's in that place where he's hiding. And so God asked the question. God knows exactly where he is. You know, it's very similar to how children are. They'll be somewhere when you play hide and go seek. And then they close their eyes, and because they can't see you, they assume you can't see them. And that's the way that Adam was. Adam hid himself. And God calls him, Adam, where art thou? And he's acting as though he's hiding from God, who sees all and knows all. And Adam is asked this question by God, where are you? God was asking him, where are you spiritually? Where are you emotionally? Where are you mentally? Where are you financially? Where are you relationally? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? This is a question that can help to define your future. Where are you? It can help you to realize, I'm out of place. I'm lost. I'm acting out of my destiny. I'm in the wrong place doing the wrong thing. Where are you? Just one question. That question shook Adam. And it made him immediately think about what he had done. Where are you? Well, I hid because I was afraid. See, it reminded him immediately of it. And God didn't even talk to him. He just said, Adam, where are you? And asking that question, remember, awareness is the beginning of change. Where are you? Here's question number 2. Where is Abel, your brother? He's talking, this is God talking to Cain. You know, he had murdered his brother. This speaks of our responsibility to others, not for others, but to them. We're responsible. We are our brother's keeper. We are our brother's keeper. We are our sister's keeper. And so we have a responsibility to people. There are folks, you know, the old folks used to say that there are certain folks that you are duty bound to pray for, duty bound to help. We're duty bound to our brothers and sisters. Where is your brother? Where is your sister? We're duty bound to help them. We're duty bound to serve them. We are duty bound to protect them. And the question is, where is Abel, your brother? Where? God just, he was trying to get Cain to realize, see, God knew exactly what he had done. But he was challenging his responsibility to serve, to help, and to protect his brother. And we get the same question. Where's Abel, your brother? Don't just be concerned about yourself. What are you doing in relationship to other people that you know who are connected to your life? Here's the third question. What's in your hand? God asked this of Moses. What's in your hand? This speaks of potential. God was saying, what do you have available to you? You're asking me for a blessing. I've already blessed you with some gifts. I've got stuff in your hand that you're not even using what I put in your hands. You're asking me for dinner, and I've already given you pancake mix. I've given you some cornmeal and some red beans and rice. And you are asking me to fix for something to eat. And I put a skill in you. You know how to throw down in the kitchen. You asking me for money. Go in there and take your talent of what's in your hands and do your magic in the stove, in the kitchen, and sell it. You know, when Colonel Sanders retired at 65 years old, he got his first Social Security check, and he realized this is not enough money to starve on. And he was 65. He had fried chicken for somebody all of his life, and he didn't have anything. And he goes down. I think the check was maybe $128, if that much. And he went and took that money and got a loan to be able to get some boxes. And he got some boxes and went home and took out a big black skillet and started frying chicken. And then he went door to door to working mothers and knocked on their door and had greasy fried chicken smelling through the box. And he says, you know what, I'm gonna help you out today. And start selling his fried chicken. And the rest is history. Sometimes the best helping hand you can find is at the end of your own elbows. So God was asking Moses, what's in your hand? What's in your hand? What ability do you have? It's crazy when we go and get gold in our mouth and we don't have any gold in our pocket. I mean, wouldn't it be wonderful if all of the big money ideas that you have, if you could just somehow telepathically transfer that over into your bank account? But he's asking you, what's in your hand? What's in your hand? What potential do you have? So God never asks you about things that are outside of your potential. He never asks you about things that are outside of your potential. So what are you doing? What do you have available for use, and how are you using it? Here's the fourth question. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? God asked this to Elijah the prophet. What are you doing here? This was a purpose question. Now remember, God's omniscient. He already knows everything. When he asked him, what are you doing here? He's like, you're somewhere you don't have any business being. You're running from your life. You're out here hiding. You're acting like a coward. Man, you got power to call down fire from heaven. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? Can you imagine how that, if you'll ask yourself, when you show up at certain functions, what in the world are you doing here? Maybe it'll keep you from being some places that you don't have any place being. You don't have any business being the guest of honor at a pity party that the devil has thrown in your honor. What are you doing here? Just kicking yourself, downing yourself, insecure. What are you doing here in this place of depression? What are you doing here? Where are you? He said, what are you doing here? He was afraid he was suicidal. This is the prophet of God, and he's suicidal. And he's like, God, take my life. God says, well, excuse me. What are you doing here? He wanted to bring an awareness. This was the purpose question. And my question to you is, are you living on purpose and in purpose, or are you just surviving? Here's question number 5. What do you want? King Ahasuerus asked this to his bride, Queen Esther. She risked her life, and this is when she said the famous word, if I perish, I perish. And she went in to see the king, and the king extended the royal scepter to her, and he asked her, what do you want? What do you want, girl? What do you want? What do you want? And my question is, do you even know what you desire? This is a question that speaks of our desire. What do you desire? Jesus said to us in Mark chapter 11 and verse 24, he says, what things soever you desire, when you pray, believe that you receive it and you'll have it. Now, most of the time, you start asking people that, and people give me this spiritual answer, well, I just want whatever the Lord wants for me. No. What do you desire? What do you desire? You have some desire. I mean, if I go in a restaurant, I'm not going to have to have a prayer meeting to figure out that if I want fried chicken and some candied yams and collard greens and cornbread, I know what I want. I am not twisted and deluded about, I know that I want some sweet potato pie and I want some red velvet cake and, I know what I want. I want some sweet tea and macaroni and cheese, and I want some fried corn with the fat meat in it, the stricoline. Y'all don't know nothing about that. I know what I want. You give me a menu, I know what I want. Give me a few minutes, I'm not going to be twisted. I know what I want. You'll be able to bring it to me right. Fry my catfish, I know what I want. I don't care for mine baked. If I fry it, I'll deal with the artery issues later. But the king actually says, do you know what you want? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? You'll be surprised at people that don't even know what they want in life. How can you ever be satisfied if you don't even know what you want? And just think about this. Think about this. If you ever have this opportunity to meet somebody that was able to write you a check for everything you need, if you found a rich man, and if he says, I'm going to pay your debt off, if you can tell me exactly how much you owe. And most people don't know, and they give you, well, you just give me about $1 million. I know that. No. You need to know, listen, you need to know, I'm $29,786.13 in debt. If you give me that, you will wipe everything. You need to know what, you got to be ready. I mean, what do you want? What do you want? You know why? Because if the opportunity is ever presented to you, you will be surprised that you may not get but one opportunity to seize that moment. God might let an elevator door close with the person who has the capacity to change your life, and you got to have a 30-second elevator speech. You can't be fumbling around and say, well, and let me think about, let me see, because the floor would have opened, the door would have opened, and you would have missed that opportunity. You got to say, listen, I've been working on this for five years, and I've got a particular invention, and all that I need is this particular type of thing, and if I can get 3 investors, and I'm looking for $17,000 a piece, and if I can get this, and when you share what you have been working on and how it will impact the market in 30 seconds, you got to have your 30-second elevator speech, because folks that have money don't have time. And you got to be ready when that opportunity opens, that if I don't get but 30 seconds with you, that I can share with you. When you got your vision, if your vision will not fit on the front of a t-shirt, it's not clear enough. You don't understand it. You got to have it to where your vision can go on the front of a t-shirt and people will understand what it is. Just do it. They got to know that this is what it is. I don't have time to have a dissertation to try to explain what it's about. You got to be ready to seize that moment. You got to be ready so that if a mic is ever presented to you, that you are ready to go there and make it do what it do. I'm just here to tell you. Now, let me just tell you, I was down in my grandmother's hometown in the country, and I'm a little a teenager, but I got a call of God on my life. And I'm in an old Methodist church, and they look out there and they see my grandmother and my grandfather sitting in the church, and they said, we understand that so-and-so's grandson is here today, and we hear that God has called him into the ministry. And they said, we're going to ask him to come up and preach here. We're going to have a choir selection, and the next voice that you hear will be that of the Rutland's grandson here. And then call me up. I didn't have any, but I said, God, if ever I needed you. I said a prayer, but you better believe that when they gave homeboy that microphone, I made it do what it do. And let me just tell you this. That was my resume. I never had to pass out a business card. Doors started opening from that moment because I was ready to seize the moment. I had already said my prayer. I was already loaded with a word. You got to be ready. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? The time to be ready is not the time to get ready. You got to have some goods ready to go. You can't be working on, you can't just have potential. You got to have the stuff ready to go at that time to say, I'm ready. All that I needed was an opportunity. Here's number 6. Here's number 6. Where have you come from and where are you going? This is what the angel of the Lord asked Hagar, Sarah's servant that was running away from Hagar. She was running away from Sarah, and he asked her the question, where have you come from? He wanted her to think about, where have you come from, girl? Girl, you don't know what you just left. And where are you going? You out here in the wilderness, you don't have any resources. Where are you going? He says, your greatest destiny was the thing that you just left. He said, if you'll go back there and submit to that, I will make a great nation out of you and your child. You think you're going to die out here, but if you go back and submit yourself, I'll bless you. He made her think about it. He says, where are you going? This is a destiny question. This is a destiny question. Please understand this. Legacy is a gift from the past that helps you to create your future. Legacy is a gift from the past that helps you to create a better future. That's what legacy is. It's a gift from the past to empower you to be able to create a better future. Where are you going? And what does your future look like? Here's number 7. Why have you forsaken me? This is what Jesus asked his Father on the cross. This is a question of frustration and feelings of abandonment. If you live long enough, it's not a matter of if you'll ever feel abandoned or God forsaken, but the question is, how do you respond when you feel God forsaken? How do you respond when you've been praying and it seems like nothing is happening for you? How do you respond? Jesus was in this place and said, God, why have you forsaken me? He's looking for answers. He's speaking out of his frustration. He's speaking out of the agony of the moment. He's speaking out of this feeling of abandonment. I want to ask you a few more transformative questions that we must resolve to answer. Here's this one. Who am I? Who am I? This is a question of identity. We're in an identity crisis in America. People don't know who they are. And they confuse what they do with who they are. Listen, here's a little secret. You are not what you do. You can quit what you do, but you cannot quit who you are. Don't get your identity in what you do. Don't get your identity in what you do. I grew up, working in the hair cosmetic manufacturing business and distributing and servicing. I'd get on the truck and we had all of this stuff, and I would hear little children as our truck rolled down, and I'm sitting on the other side. My uncle was driving, and I'm hearing the children, here come the grease man, here come the grease man. That's not who I am. I'm not the grease man. We'll sell you some grease. We got some grease in here and some shampoo and some relaxers. We got a whole lot of stuff in here. Straightening combs, curling irons. We got a whole lot of stuff in here. We got some of that dippity-doo. We got a whole lot of stuff. Here come the grease man. No. We carried all kind of stuff. We were loaded. We had all kind of stuff on there. But these folk were saying, here come the grease man. That was what I was doing. That's not who I am. Who am I? This is an identity question. Here's number 2. Why am I here? Why am I here? That's the purpose question. Everybody has to answer, why am I here? Because if you don't know why you're at a particular place, why you're here, you'll misbehave. You'll underuse and underserve the gifts and talents that God has given to you. Here's a third question. What am I doing for others? What am I doing for others? This is about mission or service. You're not just here to serve yourself. In fact, the gifts that God has given you is not for you to use in the shower. It's for you to serve to other people who need to hear your voice. It's not for you. I mean, if you got a real gift to be able to throw down, it's not just for you to be able to cook for yourself and get big. What are you doing? What are you doing for others? What are you doing for others? That's the question. It's about mission. It's about service. Here's a fourth question. Where am I going? Where am I going? Where am I going? Where am I going? This is about destiny. Destiny. Where am I going? Where am I going? Where am I going? Where am I going? Ask yourself, where am I going? You need to stop and evaluate, because you cannot ameliorate anything in your life, in your world. You can't make it better unless you evaluate it. Ask the question, where am I going? Where am I? If I keep on this path right now, where will I wind up? Where will I wind up? And here's number 5. What are my gifts? What are my gifts? Your gifts, this is about the equipment that God gives you to do what you're born to do. What are my gifts? What are my gifts? And just realize that great achievers are those that are curious and ask great questions. A wealthy friend of mine, I was sitting with him, and he was saying with me how he was interviewing to fill a very important position in his organization. He had a young man that came there, just graduated from school, and he was just trying to impress the multimillionaire who's traveled the world and just almost a gazillionaire. And this young whippersnapper just got out of school being interviewed, sat in the interview and just rambled off everything that he knew, tried to impress the man with all of the stuff that he knew. And the man said, I didn't hire the man. He said, because I was grieved. Because he never asked me one question. And he said, I'm looking for somebody who doesn't just know what they know, but who's hungry to learn what they don't know. And he had a wealth of experience and perspective and was filthy rich. And the young man never stopped to ask him one question, even about, how did you get here? How have you been sustained in this position for so long? How have you changed and grown this organization to the level? Never asked. He tried to impress the man with what he knew instead of seeking out what he didn't know. And that man was looking for somebody who was curious to learn and to grow. That's the kind of person that he wanted to add to his organization. And the boy disqualified himself trying to over-impress him with everything that he knew. Don't be a know-it-all, be a learn-it-all. Be a learn-it-all. You don't need to have all the answers. What you need to be is curious and open-minded enough to learn. Just be curious and open-minded enough to learn. You ask questions and be prepared to change based on what you learn. Ask questions and be prepared to change based on what you learn. I love the words of Albert Einstein, who said, "The measure of intelligence is the ability to change." The measure of intelligence is the ability to change. You'd be surprised at how many people get stuck in their ways and they never change. You have to be able to ask the right questions, because it can posture you when the world around you is changing for you to be able to meet a great need. Now I'm going to give you a few more reflective questions to ask yourself. I told you this is not the kind of message that make you run and shout and flip in the aisles, but it can help your life to become better. It can help you to become better. So some reflective questions that I want you to ask yourself. Ask yourself this question: what would I do if money were no object and I knew I could not fail? What would I do if money were no object? Man, if I had that kind of money. Listen, if money were no object, what would you do? Just start dreaming elaborately. Just start dreaming elaborately. Because maybe somebody, if they just heard your dream, what would you do if money were no object? Here's another question. What do I discuss more, my problems or my dreams? Just think about that. What do I discuss more? And you know, I'm allergic to negative people. There's every time you turn around, they got a problem. What do you discuss more, your problems or your dreams? Talk about your dreams. Give life to them. Somebody might overhear them and want to invest and partner with you. You'd be surprised. Talk about what's in your heart. Talk about it. Talk about it. But what do you talk about more, your problems or your dreams? Here's another question that you need to ask. Can I afford this? Not, do these shoes match this pocketbook? And girl, how cute is this? I know you can look cute. The question is, can I afford this? Can I afford this? Oh, that's a bad car. Can I afford this? Oh, look at that ring. Can I afford this? Look at that house. Oh, look at this neighborhood. Can I afford this? Can I afford this? When it comes to a relationship, ask yourself this question: can I afford to live without this person? Can I afford to live without this person? And I don't mean because they help you pay half the bills or whatever. I mean the value that they bring, that they make you a more peaceful person, a happier person, that they help to tame the beast in you. You know, you gotta meet that person that just changes who you are. They have this uncanny ability, and you realize that I can't afford to live without you. You my boo. Like I've been waiting all my life for you. All my life. Can I afford to live without this person? Ask yourself this question: what would I do if given an opportunity? It's just if given an opportunity. You don't have to pray for opportunities. You have to work to be ready when the opportunity comes. Just work to be ready so that you can then seize the moment. And then ask this question: who are my helpers? Some people get frustrated because you're trying to do your vision by yourself, and what God has given you is too big for you. And when you start talking about your vision, you will attract people who also are called to help you, but they won't know if you don't talk about it. Who are your helpers? Who are your helpers? And then ask this question: what are my obstacles? What are my obstacles? Every course has obstacles on it. What are my obstacles? What challenges am I going to deal with? You know, what kind of opponents am I dealing with? I don't have the advertising budget that they do. That's an opposition, okay? So how do I overcome that? As long as I am sober about what my obstacles are, it helps me now to realize that I've got to focus in on something else. And so now it leads us to this question: what do I do well? They might have a bigger budget for advertising, but now I got to figure out how I can do this well and bring some people in here and let them sample this and put it on social media. And maybe I can't afford the advertising budget that they have, but I got to use what I've got. I got relationships, and I'm gonna let some people share this, and maybe if I do a creative little contest here and make this happen, that this can happen for me. And you got to find out, what is it that I do well? Build on your strengths, what you do well. You can only build on your strengths. What do you do well? But ask yourself, what do I do well? Ask yourself this question: how can I improve? How can I improve? These are reflective questions that you need to ask yourself when you get by yourself, because it will help you to change your life, improve your life in wonderful ways. Don't just live life forward. Evaluate where you've come from. Spend some time in reflection. It is a terrible mistake to keep going forward and making the same old mistakes. Ask yourself this question: how can I avoid this in the future? How can I avoid this in the future? You know, if you're always late, how can I avoid this in the future? Late on payments, how can I avoid this always paying penalties? How can I avoid this ask the question. It all starts with a question. It's the power of a question. How is it that I can never be in this situation again? If you get arrested, it ought to be your last time. How can I avoid this in the future? Here's another question that you have to always ask. How much time do I have? The older that you get, you realize that it's a day shorter. It's a day closer to my grave. I don't have a whole lot of time. How much time do I have? It'll put a fire up on you. It will focus your thinking. It will help you to rearrange your priorities. If you knew you only had 6 months to live, what all of a sudden would become unnecessary to you? I mean, would you spend the same amount of hours on social media, or in front of a television or computer, if you knew you only had 6 months to live? How much time do I have? And then ask this question: will I regret not doing this? Will I regret not doing this? As many people's deathbeds that I've been beside, I've never found people stating what they regretted that they did. Their biggest regrets were over what they didn't have the courage to do. Will I regret not doing this? And then this one: will this decision compromise my integrity or character? Will this decision, you get ready to decide on doing something, will this compromise my integrity or my character? And then at the end of the day, after all is said and done, what will you wish you had done or left undone? What will you wish you had done or left undone? Just think about that. Eternity is a long time. What is it that you will wish that you had done or left undone?
Thank you for watching Power for Living with Bishop Dale C. Bronner. Join us again next time for Power for Living, where revelation is power. Power for living.